Please welcome Michael Orland.
Don't we need a little music?
Of
So
course we do. Absolutely. Love that little touch.
I'll
Thank you
musically.
so much for being here, Michael.
Hey, thanks for having me. That,
Absolutely. Now, there's nothing more fun for me than talking to somebody who is just passionate about what they do. And for you, that is music. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the first moment that you figured out that this was your thing, you were just 3 years old and you saw Mary Poppins. Your grandmother took you to see Mary Poppins, and you were like, this is amazing. So you go home, you learn the music on the piano, you're playing it by ear. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of what you were like, this is my thing, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. And, I mean, I loved it from the beginning. But when I talk to anybody that wants to do this business or something creative like what we do, you have to love it. You have to be so passionate about it. There's so many ups and downs and highs and lows and periods where nothing. It's a waiting game. It's a you have to be so passionate about it. Otherwise, if there's something else you're as passionate about, you should do that other thing.
Absolutely. Now, just skipping ahead a little bit, you knew you wanted to do music from such a young age, and I'm sure you had so much determination to do whatever it was, that first gig, that first break. What was that for you? What was the first thing that you got that opportunity and you took it and ran with it?
Well, I'll tell you, I can I just start a little bit before that
Oh,
because
all
I went
totally.
no, I have to just like set it up like this because I have the most supportive family in the world. And when I work with kids today and I see how supportive their parents are financially and mentally and emotionally and all that stuff for their kid, I appreciate it so much. I did not have that. I love my family and they are so supportive now. But when it came time to go to college, they did not want me to go to school for music.
Mm.
So I went to school to be an accountant. So I was an accounting major at UMass Amherst, and I just didn't feel it, and I dropped out, and I moved to New York. Now I'm not encouraging anybody to drop out of school, but it worked for me, and my parents are okay with me dropping out today. They weren't then, and because like you said, the word passion is it's everything. It's like I didn't care if I had to wait tables or whatever. Like my waiter job was I worked in a piano bar in New York City. I worked at three different piano bars in New York City, like 6 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. But my first break came when I went to this amazing, famous piano bar in New York City called the Duplex, which there is still a duplex, but it's not the original one where the one I played at. And I went in with my friend Amy Ryder, who I still am very close to today. And we went to go sing a song to say, hey, we're doing a show upstairs in the cabaret room. Come see us. And the owner came up to me and said, hey, our break pianist didn't show up tonight. You want to play? Like literally, I just happened to be there. I just happened to be there.
Wow, it's got to be so like that feeling that you get of excitement, but it must be terrifyingly awesome just to know that you just gotta take that moment, right? You never know when it's gonna come. I mean, what would you say to anybody who's wondering like you never know when that moment is gonna happen? I mean, you just gotta take it and run with it, right? And just do whatever you
It's
can.
100%. This business is all who you know and being at the right place at the right time. But you have to be as prepped and ready and hone your skills as can be, because if that door opens and you're not ready and you blow it, then you don't know when next can happen. It can, and we all have friends that maybe aren't as talented as somebody else, but they've gotten that break and they're running with it. It's the best. But it's all about social networking and knowing who you got to be out there. You got to be meeting everybody you can meet. And today in this environment is so hard right now. But posting you're on your social media and getting in touch with somebody like me that did a master class with a bunch of people and say, hey, I just posted a new cover on my Instagram. Please take a look at it when you can. All that stuff matters.
Now, it's really interesting too because you mentioned social media and how do people separate themselves? Because when there's so much content, there's so many covers people can watch, so many videos they can watch. What do people need to do, especially nowadays, to make sure that people know, okay, I'm unique. I've got that special thing that you're looking for. Hey, look at me.
Well, it's the same thing I would tell anybody that was auditioning for any of those reality shows like American Idol. I'd say you can't be a karaoke version of what's already out there. So when you sing an Amy Winehouse song, I don't want to hear you imitate Amy Winehouse and then you switch to an Adele song and then all of a sudden you sound like Adele. you have to find what your own voice is, whatever that means. And sometimes, because I know the judges on American Idol go, who are you as an artist? They'll say it to a 16-year-old. Some 30-year-olds don't know who they are as an artist, but it's just something they say. But it's finding out who you are and what you want to do. And if you're going to put a cover out there, you have to change it up and make it yours. So we don't want to hear a karaoke version of a Bruno Mars song or whoever, just like, everybody also is doing Billie Eilish. It's like, don't sing Billie Eilish like she does. We can hear her sing it. Like, you have to put your own stamp on it, and it's doable.
Right. And almost interesting too, like artists like Billie Eilish, who she is so original, and yet the fact that so many people are trying to do that, it's like, it's her originality, that's her thing. So even singers that are doing their own songs, it's like you've got to find that thing, right, that just makes you stand out, even if it's your own song.
Absolutely, especially if it's your own song. Like, we want to hear who you are as an artist. That's like why people who audition for American Idol, you have to show them who you are. I don't really agree with the thing, who are you as an artist? Sometimes we don't know, and sometimes being on a show like American Idol, you find out.
Right.
um, though there were certainly many contestants that came on that show and knew who they were in later years, when you weren't in the beginning of American Idol, everybody was forced to be out of their comfort zone at some point. Like, the rocker guy had to sing a show tune,
Right.
or the country girl had to sing a big band song. It's like everybody was uncomfortable 1 week. But in later years, I think it was after even they started allowing people to play instruments on the show, I think they encouraged people to be who they are as an artist, no matter what song you sing. So if you sing like Harry Connick Jr., like, you got to be able to sing a song from today and still sound like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's basically what it is.
Absolutely. Now, getting to American Idol, you had already made a name for yourself. I saw you were on the Rosie O'Donnell show. You were on the sitcom The Nanny. Next thing you know, there's this new show coming to Fox, and here come these British producers: Nigel Lithgow, Ken Warwick. There's some guy named Simon Cowell. He's sitting at some desk next to this dude Randy Jackson, who's a producer, and then we know who Paula Abdul is in the middle of them. This team comes together and makes this show that little did they know would become a huge phenomenon. And there you are, you're getting that call. You show up to your first day of work. What was that like?
So I technically didn't start till the end of season one. What happened was, there were these two people that were the whole music team on season one, Deborah Bird and Kevin Bassenson. And I had known them from being a rehearsal pianist with Barry Manilow. And again, here's how that happened. They knew me from working with Barry Manilow. They called me to help out. And that's how that whole thing happened. And then I never left, till season after, for the first 16 years. But it was the greatest thing in the world. And like, I didn't even know what it is in the beginning, and I actually couldn't go in the first time they called me. And my friend, who's a TV writer out here, she yelled at me. She goes, "You kidding? It's the biggest show ever." It was just in the middle of season one, and people were like flipping out over it. So it's another thing, and about how important it is to follow through. I called these people again a few weeks later, and I'm like, "Hey, anytime you need me, I'll drop everything." And they ended up calling me, and I went there, and that was how the whole thing happened. So the first two seasons of American Idol, all the kids sang to backing tracks, except for like maybe a big band week or something when they had like live musicians. So it was not till and season three was that way too, 1, 2, and 3. Season 4, when this brilliant musician Ricky Minor came on to head the music team, he and even like season 2 and 3, just Deborah Bird and I coached all the kids together. And Ricky came on and said, "Wait, because we were there all day and night and loved every second of it." But Ricky was like, there needs to be 2 teams here. This is like way more work than just 2 of you. So they brought in another team, and then I started working with this amazing guy, Dorian Hawley, who you need to meet and talk to. He's brilliant. And just stuff like that. Anyway, it just developed over the years, and I was not the head music guy. They had really, I mean, Ricky Mino. There were so many brilliant musicians who came on board and like did all the stuff. I did all the rehearsals with everybody. I helped, do all their arrangements. Anytime they did like the TV press after they got voted off, that we did the Ellen show together. Like I was on the Ellen show over 75 times because she was obsessed with the show, and she had like every kid as they got voted off, they would be on her show. Just like stuff like that just kept snowballing because even like through the first 8 or 9 seasons, it was the biggest thing on TV. You know, nobody knew how to get 30 million viewers twice a week for all those years. And honestly, for me, and I will always love that show, and I think it's the best thing ever. For the lucky 10 or 12 that get to be in the top, it's a fast pass to show business. It doesn't make you a star, but it certainly leaps you way forward. But there's nothing. The only negative thing I would ever say about all those shows is that it gives people a false sense of fame and how you have to, we don't learn the whole, like I worked in piano bars every single night for years and years and years and learned every song ever written and played for in, dives and whatever. But you have to do the work. You have to have every single American Idol person that has a career today is one that had the most amazing work ethic when they came through those doors. They weren't just on the phone in the hallways, they were listening to the CDs we just made them or the recordings we made them. They were working nonstop. The Adam Lamberts were coming in and saying, hey, I want to see this song. I want to take it and make it like this. Or Michael Johns used to come out. David Cook would come in and say, hey, I want to see how this guy does it on YouTube. I want to make it more like that. It was every one of those kids that still are around today and making a living as an artist are the kids that you can say that about all of them. They have the greatest work ethic, and it takes that. It's just, you can't just get famous and then it doesn't work. I mean, unless you're a Kardashian, I don't know.
Well, yeah, for sure. And it's also interesting to remember, like, even from the first season, it wasn't like every kid that came off of that show was a huge star. People in the later years would say, oh, does the show even still find stars? Well, even in the first season, it's like, Kelly was really big. Justin had a nice career. Like, these people, like you said, the ones that had that great work ethic on the show, off the show, all these years later, still killing it. That's what it takes.
Yeah, and Justin still works all the time, and up until Broadway went on hold for a minute, he was doing a lot. He's doing so much, and I know he does a lot of stuff online and whatnot. But yeah, all these kids, all of them, and it's just it is a fast pass, like I say, for those people. But the ones that come out of there and tumble back down again are the ones that didn't want to work at it, and it just is not handed to you, and then you don't have to do anything for it. But I'll tell you, the one amazing thing about American Idol that no other show ever had was there was a management team in place that wanted to make these people have an afterlife after the show. And there's not one person on any other show that those shows really care. They care about ratings, which is so hard to get today anyway. But I'll tell you, that is the most amazing thing for American Idol, that they still want these kids to have like a life and a career afterwards that they're all a part of. They help find them and they, develop them and everything. It's just the best.
So that's the secret ingredient, right? Because we all wonder, like, Idol is the show that makes stars.
Yeah, because, listen, I know a lot of great singers that have come from The Voice. Chris Mann is an amazing singer. He didn't even win the first season, and he's a brilliant singer. He works all the time. He's got a huge career. And one of my dearest friends, Allison Porter, won
Season
The
10,
Voice
yeah.
a few seasons ago. She's the most brilliant vocalist, songwriter, everything. I mean, like, it's unreal how she performs and sings. And and what? She won The Voice, and it's like, that show doesn't support anybody. So
Yeah, now when Idol started out, there was no social media. There were, newspapers were still a thing and people could write up things about the contestants. The contestants would go on AOL Messenger to read the comments, and then they had on screen Simon Cowell often tearing them to shreds. So you and the other vocal coaches and the team behind the scenes, you were really their rock. You were there
totally.
supporting these kids. So talk about that process, maybe what we didn't see on camera.
Well, funny you should say about how they would go on a AOL. Like on season 2, I remember they had a dial-up modem to get on a big, huge desktop computer, and the kids would get all like 5 minutes each to go on their AOL message boards to see what everybody was saying about them. And people were, I mean, like, you couldn't go out on the street and not get like mobbed if you were with Clay Aiken or Kimberly Locke or Ruben Studdard. It was just like unreal. And I remember I even like in the old days before they made all these rules where, whatever, we used to like go out and I would take him to my friend Dan Finnerty's brilliant show. And like we'd get mobbed in the street, like just driving there. Like people saw, Ruben Studdard in my front seat and Clay and Kimberly were in my back seat. And like people like flipped out. I mean, like double takes. But I'll tell you, it was so hard. And like in the very beginning, when social media did develop, the show was all going, we're going to run your accounts and whatever. Now, of course, today they're like tweet about it, Instagram about it. It's funny to watch the whole change. But the same way that social media changed, so did the music business. And those kids from the first 8 or 9 seasons all had these hit records that went platinum and double platinum and all that stuff. That just doesn't happen today. It just doesn't happen today. And so, but as sad as that is, and the way that it's so different right now, I think that the promising thing to me is like there are no rules anymore. Like there's no such thing as too thin, too fat, too young, too old, too anything. There's no more rules anymore. You can be the next big thing because one of your songs just goes viral for some weird reason. I don't even know. I don't even know what the answer is. But that's the best part about that the music business is so different now. There's no reason anybody should ever give up. And I know Idol is like, you can't be older than 28. I know 35-year-old people that are the most talented, brilliant things, and they still do a lot of stuff and whatever. That's just a whole different thing. And American Idol and all those shows are not the be all and end all of getting to fame. So as a matter of fact, like people aren't watching it like they used to because I think with, all the ways we stream and everything, like people don't want to wait a week for results and they want to like see like a whole thing in, one night. And also with the whole results thing is that, people on the West Coast, I used to get blasted. Like if somebody posted something on the East Coast and then, the West Coast was like, we're not going to watch it now. We are now. Why'd you just tell that? Who won? You know what I mean? Like it's really hard, but you go with the times. There are ways to still be in this business and be very successful. And I don't think anybody should just be discouraged. I think I only want to encourage people because, just to find what is unique about you. And I mean, that's what I do with my coaching students that I coach every day. And it's just important for nobody to like want to give up because, I'm too old to audition for Idol. I have 12 and 13 and 14-year-old people that I work with, my students, that are unreal, but they're too young for that,
Right. Well, getting back to Idol for just a sec, I mean, you were on the show for 16 years, so a lot of changes start to happen after a while. I think what really worked in the early years was it was simple. It was kid gets up and sings, judges critique, and the judges aren't worried about, oh gosh, I have my own singing career. I'm going to tell it to him straight. And, the public really fell in love with that. Then after season 8, Paula leaves, and the next year Simon's leaving. And I want to talk about that for a minute because the show was always about the kids. And I feel like, once the whole thing happened with Paula and once the whole thing happened with Simon, it was still about the kids, but in a huge sense, it was about the judges. And I think that, the kids were still great, but I think that it became a different show. So I was wondering for you being on the show and seeing the changes in the panel, if you could talk about the shift in dynamics,
Sure.
from a production perspective.
I will absolutely tell you my own personal feeling. I will tell you though, didn't matter who the judges were and what the ratings were. We had the greatest time with the kids, and we were only there to support and love and build confidence and help these kids grow as much as they could because, the stress that they're under is unreal. However, when Paula Abdul left, that was a game changer to me. I mean, she was the heart. I mean, I love that woman. I'm still really close to her to this day. She was the heart and soul to that show. And, and that whole dynamic between the three of them, there was nothing, it wasn't manufactured. We just watched them. And, and Simon would say anything and do anything to make Paula or Randy look silly or whatever. And Paul, of course, Randy had that. I'm sorry. Simon had that mean personality. He was the nicest, most loving guy in the world off screen. He would go up to a kid after they got voted off and be, saying, I wish you all the best of luck. And what I meant by this was, he's such a great guy, not just because he's got the same birthday as me, but
October
that's
7th.
how us Libras are. You are hysterical. You did your homework.
I mean, I got to tell you, and I think this is a perfect segue into this next little section here. I am the biggest Idol fan, so talking to you is it's such an honor, but it's also it's so much fun for me to I really get to dig deep and this next thing I want to ask is about a particular season. It was the season after Paula left, so season 9, and
Yeah.
I thought that it was from a reality TV perspective a really fascinating but weird transitional phase for the show where it was Ellen DeGeneres and Cara DioGuardi and then Randy and Simon. Simon was leaving at the end. Not only was the dynamic with the judges different, in the auditions you had Tori Kelly and then you had Todrick Hall who got sent home top 16 and some other, I think, really great people that got sent home before you got to the bigger rounds. It was like, and then to look at these people who didn't make it past 16 and to see their careers today, it blows my mind that they didn't get through further.
Well, I'll tell you, I could not love Todrick Hall more, and I am friends with him today. And I think he is. I mean, he blows me away when I watch something he does on, social media and stuff, or when I've talked to him several times because he's done some projects that I've been helping out with on the sideline. Um, I got to tell you that he wasn't the most Idol. They weren't ready for what he was. If he came out later seasons of Idol, he probably would have done way better. They were not ready for somebody like him who totally changed things up, like so far left that they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to handle him. I remember working with him that first week of top 16, I think, and he did a Kelly Clarkson song, and he like
Since you've been gone.
totally, yeah, you're so funny. But he totally like changed it up so much. I'm like, what the frick is happening here? But I didn't even know if I appreciated what amazing artistry he has. I am so thrilled for him that he has been fully discovered, and and there's nobody like that man. Tori Kelly, I remember her from Hollywood Week, and I was like, what? How did that just go? How did that just fall through the cracks? Nobody really knows it. It's these people are just, that's when I say it doesn't matter what
Right.
you do. It's all a timing game. If it's supposed to happen, it's gonna happen.
But and even later years, like Lauren Daigle was on the show, didn't get past the
Right.
auditions. Look at her. I mean, I also think too that season, I think that Cara DioGuardi, even though she didn't really mix well with the dynamic, I think she doesn't get enough credit for who she was as a judge and what she brought to the show musically, the advice that she was giving the contestants. She actually was the one who recommended Steven Tyler for the next season. Little did she know she wouldn't be there, of course, but
I didn't
that
know. That's so funny.
that was that was the beginning of kind of like I'd say the new era of the show. Randy Jackson, Steven Tyler, and Jennifer Lopez, and also Jimmy Iovine, who's obviously a legend working with the contestants, and then Nigel Lithgow, who had left, came back, and they still found some great people. The two country finalists, Scotty McCreery, Lauren Elena, huge today. What
Yeah.
was that dynamic like? Because I really think that was a new era of the show. Not
Yes.
to mention Simon was gone.
Absolutely. I want to say that I love Cara DioGuardi, and I think she's such a. I mean, her songs are like. I think she's like a brilliant songwriter, and I think she did have a lot of great stuff to offer. And it was a weird dynamic, and it didn't all work for whatever reason. But I'll tell you, when Jennifer Lopez came on, I am as I mean, she was. I loved having her. Like it just gave us the perspective like we used to get from Paula. Like I know what it's like to be up there, and people enjoyed that dynamic with her. And Steven Tyler was just crazy and fun and out of his mind fun. And I don't know. It just, again, what we did with the kids never changed. Who
Right.
all the stuff. But we used to say to them, you don't have to listen to the judges. The judges, because and this happened. This is definitely more in later years than earlier. The judges would, like, especially Randy Jackson, he would contradict himself from one week to the next. Somebody would sing a Beatles song straight through, and he'd say, that was really great, but why didn't you change it up a little bit? And then the next week they'd come and sing a song and change it all up, and he's like, you know what, you didn't have to change anything. Well, you should have just left, like, sung the straight melody. You couldn't really win, and we could not convince the contestants enough, and we tried, that the 2 minutes they're under that major pressure of being in a room of screaming fans and live television where all these people are watching, they, as much as they're under that strain and stress, for the next 3 minutes, those judges were under the same pressure to come up with something smart, funny, witty, constructive, anything to help those kids. But now in later years, when the judging panel changed even to what it is now, I don't think the judges can be as constructive as they need to be, because they're afraid that people will vote against somebody they give constructive criticism to, which is insane to me. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's a hard, fine line.
For sure. I mean, it was kind of difficult. Like you said, nothing changed with how you worked with the kids and the talent that came from that show. But as it became more and more about the judges, which I gotta say, again, a super fan here, season 12, Nicki Minaj, Mariah Carey. I don't know what you can say. I don't know what you want to say or are allowed to say. But that season, first of all, I think the whole four judges thing, that was just, it's a curse. Four judges on a panel never seemed to work.
Yeah.
But and then also Nigel and Ken, who I want you to talk about them. Just okay, I don't know anybody listening to this who hasn't seen, an episode of Idol, which of course you have, or So You Think You Can Dance, Nigel. I mean, they were just. I mean, I don't know them. You worked with them for years and years. Talk about them. They just seem like the most brilliant people
They
at what they
are
do.
the most brilliant things that were behind that show, and that show was that successful because of them. They, first of all, they used to come into the music room when a contestant was like, "We don't know what we're going to sing this week. We don't know those songs from the, British invasion." They would literally stand around the piano and they'd say, "Michael, play this," and we do like a piano bar. We'd like literally like sing the songs, and Ken and Nigel would get up and perform them and sing
My
them, and
gosh.
they were so passionate about that show and about what those kids did. It changed after they left. It just did. They were the most brilliant things behind that show, and they cared about that show so much. I'm still friends and close to all of them still, to Ken and Nigel and their families. And I work with Nigel's son Chris Lithgow all the time on winter shows and stuff that we do. um, they're family to me. They're family to me. I grew up with them. I mean, at the end of season one, when we went to Las Vegas and we did like I don't know if you remember, Mr. Superfan, the top 32 or I think it was top 32 went to Las Vegas to do a big television special because season one was so huge. And that's like when Ken and Nigel were like, they were like, I said that when I left there, I left there. They had like a rehearsal room set up in part of their suite. And I was there, I think that day for 17 hours. We were trying to work out material with the kids. And I said, that was the greatest 17 hours I ever spent. And they said, well, we hope, it just got you a job on the show permanently. And that's like how I went back season two. But I'm telling you, they were the brains behind that. Again, it was a different time. It was when ratings, you couldn't do anything wrong on that show. And the thing that I loved about all those years were, we didn't have to say to the kids, only two kids can sing a ballad this week. Okay, you can only sing songs written after the year 2000. Like, we didn't have to keep up with other shows. We were the only show. And so they were so brilliant in that one week somebody could sing, like, because it was a family show and kids watched it with their families. And like, so the parents loved when they heard a big Motown thing. And then the kids were like, "Oh, what's that song?" And then like Motown music got big again with the kids, and vice versa. When we would do things that the parents didn't know, they learned all this new music. It was a great, great thing. But Ken and Nigel are the brains behind that. operation, and they always will be. And I listen again. I love every season of that show, and I love everybody on that show. And that it just changed after they left. It just did.
Yeah, and also the fact that I know they have backgrounds in dance. I don't know how much with necessarily singing, but they knew their music, and I think that you have to be you got to make a TV show, but you got to be passionate about music to make a music show.
Absolutely. I have to say, come here, Jinx. Look, my doggy wants to say hello. She
Hi,
just got home.
Jinx.
Jinx, what are you doing? All right, she's gonna go lay down because it's hot out. Um, Lay down, baby girl. Anyway, yeah. It's very. Listen, I wouldn't want to produce that show. I think that everybody who's been executive producers have done a great job. And then when they brought Jimmy Iovine in, that's when Jimmy was like, I want, and that was Philip Phillips' season, I believe, when they said, hey, we want no more making this kid sing a pop song. Philip Phillips is not a pop guy. Let's let them be who they are as artists the whole season. And that was the year they brought in all these brilliant songwriters to help us out. I mean, it was insane. It was the best. I mean, I got to meet these incredible superstars.
Yeah. Well, the show did end on Fox, and they had this big farewell season. They dragged it all out. Next thing you know, gets picked up by ABC,
Yep.
and super excited about that. You got Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, Luke Bryan, Seacrest is back, and new producers. And you were there for the first year. You got to work with Maddie Poppy, Katie Turner, some really great people. And the show, it's still doing well.
Yep, I love those kids so much, every one of them. And I mean, like, literally still stay in touch with every one of those kids. I can't explain to somebody like the bond between a singer and a pianist is like no other. And so that's why when people say to me, were any of them ever difficult? Never.
Wow.
I never experienced that from anybody. Even like when I would hear like, oh, so and so was not nice, or they didn't even say hi to me. These kids were everything to us, and we just had the best relationship. And that's why I stay in touch with so many of them now, where they'll call me up and say, hey, I have to learn this song. Can you make me a track? Like the old days.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the show it's even with what they're doing now, it's a little different, but it's still producing stars. And it's been over 2 years since you've left Idol. You're still killing it with so many other projects and endeavors. And tell us about what you're doing now. And even with this COVID thing, it seems like you've still got a lot of great stuff happening.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm having a ball, and I hope we all get to return to normal. I do a lot of concerts and stuff all over the country with a bunch of different singers, and those all have gotten put on hold like everybody. And I have so many friends that are in leading roles on Broadway, and that's all gone away for right now. And I can't wait till it can come back, until we can all be safe again and be out there. But I've been doing some stuff. I mean, I do vocal coaching every day, all day, from Zoom and from FaceTime. And I love working on new material for people, whether you're auditioning for a musical or a college or a reality TV show. I loved working with every style and every whatever. And I certainly just have a lot of experience with the musical theater and with with the reality TV show. But I've been doing all that, and then I've been doing this really fun Instagram thing. My buddy Caesar, who does social media for the brilliant Catherine McPhee and Megan Hilty, who I both love and adore. He's been helping me out, and he's like, hey, we're gonna start doing like these Instagram live shows with like a past Idol person. So I've been doing all those every week. So those are on my Instagram every Thursday. I've been doing a different Idol. So those have been so fun. And then we started doing these tips for Tuesday on my Instagram. Every Tuesday we do a new tip, and for singers and stuff. And I'm having a ball. I have a dog that I got right before this whole thing started, thankfully, and I got her in February. I rescued her, and thank God I have her in my life. And I'm happy. Oh, I didn't mean to hit the piano. Everybody's healthy. It's a very scary time right now, and you got to wear a mask, and you got to wash your hands, and you have to keep socially distant from everybody. And I'm not fooling around. I want to help this be over and not get anybody anything from safe, anything but safe.
Right. Now, speaking of safety, I've seen you've been doing a lot of things safely, collaboration wise. I saw Instagram yesterday working with Kristin Chenoweth in the studio.
Yeah.
You were working on the reboot of Saved by the Bell a few months ago before the pandemic. The Prom, Ryan Murphy's directing the Netflix film adaptation. Can you tell us about any of those projects, any of those really awesome things that you're up to
Well,
that you're
I'll
allowed
tell
to
you,
say?
like I hate dropping names, but get ready. No, I'm kidding. People are like, oh, drop another name. I will tell you that I've been working on and off with Kristin Chenoweth. She has a musical director on the East Coast who is brilliant. And whenever she can't do stuff, I do a lot of stuff with her. But when Kristin's out here, which she is a lot, and now I go over and rehearse with her and prep her for a lot of stuff. And I have, and I do a lot of concerts with her, and I am just in love with her. She is the sweetest, most talented. If somebody said to me, like, how do you show what you do? I say, come see me play for Kristin Chenoweth. She does every style, every comedy, pop, gospel, like soprano stuff, musical theater, jazz. She does everything. And so, but I always rate people like big, huge stars like from her because she is the most down to earth, genuine. Like if you met her and had a 2-minute conversation with her, you would leave feeling like you guys were best friends. She's just that real, and she's just a loving, giving person. And so I always say, like when I meet a celebrity, I think to myself, oh, those people are like Kristin Chenoweth nice, or they're not like Kristin. So when I worked on The Prom, the movie of the Broadway musical, for like 5 weeks, I played rehearsals and it was so fun. But I have to tell you that Nicole Kidman and I forgot all the fun people in it.
James Corden's
Meryl,
in that, right?
Meryl Streep, and everybody, James Corden and Andrew Rannells, and these people were like freaking, like, you see why Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman are huge stars. They are the nicest, loving, and they were like freaking out because I was watching them trying to learn all this choreography, which they weren't that comfortable with. And I was just sitting there in awe going, oh my God, I'm watching these two like learn these amazing dances. And they were, they could not have been nicer. And I watched them. They remembered everybody's name in that room. And like, that's the sign of a star to me. That is a sign of a star. But
Absolutely.
I've had so many great opportunities. My buddy Chris Lithgow, who's Nigel's son, we do these panto, they're called English panto versions of these kids shows every year. And I've gotten to work with ridiculous people from that. Sabrina Carpenter and all these people, and Ariana Grande was in one of them. And it's ridiculous, all the stuff. And then doing Hairspray Live with Ariana and getting to meet and work with Dove Cameron and all these people that I knew, like Jennifer Hudson and Kristin Chenoweth and all these people that I got to work with, and Garrett Clayton. I mean, it was like this, I always say, when you go to work and you feel like you're playing, which is what I physically do, like it's not work. It's not
Right.
work. It's the best.
Yeah, well, like I said, and like you just told us, so much going on with you. Where can people follow you? You've got the Live with Michael on Thursdays with Past Idols. You've got the vocal coaching you're doing online through Zoom. Where can people go to follow you, check you out, all that?
Thank you for asking.
Of
Um,
course.
my Instagram and my Twitter is at Michael Orland, and I'm MichaelOrland, and my email is just idol pianist, IDOL pianist at AOL, and anybody can reach out. I've lowered my rates some for this whole horrible pandemic and financial crisis that everybody's in, and they're going to stay that way for a while until we get back to normal, or whatever the new normal is. And I love working with people. I look forward to hearing from anybody, and if they say they came from this show, maybe we'll do something special for them. But yeah, I love I'm obsessed with my Instagram, only because my friend Caesar makes me be so into it now, and I'm maybe a little too obsessed, but what else are we going to do right now?
Right. So, well, thank you so much, Michael. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. That was so fun. I'm so impressed with all your background knowledge and homework you did. That was very impressive, and I love that you're such a huge Idol fan. I meet people like that every day that are like that every day that are like that every day that are like that.